Welcome to Diaspora Kicking the Bobo. Sorry I haven't had a video to come out in over a week because we had some deaths in the family, had to take care of that. But it's all over now. We're back in motion. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Just press the button. It's just pressing a button to you, but it means so much to my staff. What I'm going to be talking about today is Stockholm syndrome. People in the diaspora, we wonder, at least the African diaspora, we wonder why we sometimes treat the others with reverence. No matter what they do, we like them, care for them, we try to protect them. It's confusing. It's very confusing to me because I see it every single day. No matter what happens, we try to protect them and protect their way of life. Like for instance, when a police officer does something to a minority, there's a lot of us, we go behind them and we try to say, well, if this hadn't happened, maybe this didn't happen. But you know what? That's wrong. It comes from a sense of caring for the captors. First of all, Stockholm syndrome is an emotional response that the captive victims have towards their captors. For instance, back in 1973 in Switzerland, there was a people who robbed a bank. And during the process of robbing the bank, these captors started to like their captors. They were held hostage. They were tortured. Some of them were tortured. They were treated bad, but they started to like them to the point where they wouldn't testify against them.
August the 23rd, 1973. The bank had just opened. A tall, muscular man wearing a wig, makeup, and a pair of sunglasses walked into the bank. He ripped out a submachine gun, fired into the ceiling. It was Jan-Erik Olofsson, or Janne, who was a master safecracker. Very good at opening safes.
When Olofsson stormed into a bank in Stockholm, Sweden,
he ran around the room, slammed a transistor radio that he pulled out of his bag onto the counter. So rock music was blasting throughout the lobby, and he started taking hostages.
Olofsson took 4 captives.
Christine Inmark, she was 23. There's Elizabeth Oldgren, the youngest of the hostage. She had just turned 21. She was a blonde woman that was often used as a human shield. There's Birgitta Lundblad, who was 31, who was a mother. And the fourth one was Sven Sefström. He made his demands. He wanted 3 million Swedish crowns and Clark Olofsson. Clark Olofsson was one of the most notorious criminals in Sweden at the time.
Clark and Janne were friends in prison.
The police arrived on the scene, and so does the media. They're bringing sharpshooters and snipers. They're going to be all around the square.
Remarkably, the police conceded to one of Olofsson's demands and brought Clark Olofsson to the bank. But the standoff continued. Olofsson and Olofsson and the hostages retreated into the bank vault.
They're in the vault, and the police decide to lock them in the vault. They lock the hostages in with the gunman.
Days passed with no resolution in sight.
And eventually they come up with the idea, drill holes in the vault and gas them.
The police began to drill holes in the ceiling of the vault as Olofsson tried to keep them at bay.
So he has the idea, he's going to rig up a bomb. And he does that and blows up the drill. So that stops it for a little while. So they're all very happy. And then the police, they get another drill. So they keep drilling and they keep drilling.
Olofsson made another move.
In his bag that he had when he came into the bank, he pulls out some rope. No one saw when this was done, but the rope is tied in the form of nooses. So he ties nooses around the hostage's neck, fixes it to the safety deposit boxes in the wall, makes them stand up, and tells the police, if you send in gas, the hostages will be the first to die. They send a camera down through one of their holes and take a picture of the hostages during the crisis. They only see 3 of the 4 hostages there, but over their heads they see the nooses. So they know this is for real. They decided to use the gas. So they pumped in gas out of 3 of the holes at the top. They had sharpshooters at 2 other holes in case they needed to shoot. And they used lights on the others. And the code word was turn on the lights. And that's when the gas started coming into the vault. You could just hear the screams, the cough. It's burning their eyes, burning their skin. It takes over 30 minutes before they can finally get everybody out. Fortunately, nobody dies from the time the gunman goes into the bank until the finale. It's 131 hours.
The relationship that developed between the captives and the captor.
And at the end, when they do come out of the vault, the police see the hostages. Some of the women give the captors hugs. They say, "We're right. Take care." And another one is saying, don't harm him.
And then here in America, in 1974, you had Patty Hearst. Patty Hearst was the heir to a big-time news article when a terrorist group kidnapped her and held her hostage. What happened was that they tortured her, brutalized her, they abused her, and then all of a sudden, she started making tapes, robbed a bank with them. She started doing crimes with them. She started to have feelings towards her captors.
The kidnapping of Patricia Patty Hearst.
Patricia Hearst, she was a art history major at Berkeley. She was 19 years old. She was very famous in 1974. The Hearst family was fabulously rich.
A group calling itself the Symbionese Liberation Army kidnapped the heiress from her apartment.
2 months later, she's filmed robbing a bank with her captors. And she's also sending messages out. She has a new name, Tanya. She's taking a new revolutionary name. And she's denouncing the establishment. She's denouncing the FBI. And she's joined them. And she became associated also with the Stockholm syndrome. Their argument at the trial was that she was under duress because she was taken captive.
Hearst was convicted of bank robbery and sentenced to 35 years in prison. President Carter commuted her sentence in 1979, and she was released after serving 22 months.
Stockholm syndrome is not a psychological disease. It is an emotional response. We tend to have feelings towards those who abuse us, like a female who have feeling towards her abuser. A guy beats his woman, the police come over to try to arrest him and keep him from hurting her. She immediately attacks the police to protect her husband or the man or the woman that's abusing them. And I think that that's what we kind of go through here. I've seen a couple of African Americans who were talking to one of the others. They were getting down, debate was good. All of a sudden, the other African American started trying to protect the other. And I'm like, wow, why do he feel the need to protect this guy? Throughout history, we were abused. But then all of a sudden, we always want to forgive our abusers. No matter what happened, the world expects the African diaspora to forgive those who have been abusing them. Isn't that crazy? And yet, we do it. You know why we do it? Because as a whole, the African diaspora has experienced Stockholm syndrome. Whether you were a slave in the diaspora or you were colonized by the others, you were taught that right is right and we have to protect them. Man, that is a mind. And we're going to keep it at that. That's mind blowing. That we would protect those that try to harm us. Here in America, instead of just saying we're done, we still try to work. We still try to work with them. And they continue to do the abuse, even to this day. For instance, check this out. Women's rights. Women have been trying to get their rights. They mostly got them. Trying to get their rights for years and years and years. Black women marched alongside white women, but guess what? White women got their rights. Black women didn't. Even though they marched the same, said the same thing. And then once they got their rights, guess what? They left the black women behind. Well, you got to qualify to get this job. They set themselves up on a pedestal and left them behind. And now, women are trying to do the same thing. You got more and more black women saying, you know what? I ain't falling for that now. But then you got a lot of them who suffer Stockholm syndromes. They're still following them. They're still trying to say, we're going to get the same thing you're going to get. No, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Let me tell you, anybody who has power and is willing to give up the power is crazy, especially to a different race of people. They'll tell you they want to share, but they don't want to share. That's crazy to share. That's crazy to get up. Because one day, guess what? They're not going to be on top. They don't want to give it up. And they're not going to give it up. When you go through loving your enemy to death, and that's what we're doing, we're loving our enemies to death to the point where we will not stick together to get anything. I was talking to a friend of mine and I was saying that how come that African Americans have done so much for the world, that other Africans in the diaspora, now it appears that they are jealous and they don't give the respect to the African American that the African American deserves. We have done so much with inventions, civil rights throughout the world. They try to look down on us. They don't look down on me because I love who I am. I love being an African American. Culturally, mentally, physically, financially, I love it. And I won't cow down to anybody. And I won't apologize for being African American. It's like there's a jealousy there. Now, I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying for most people. There was a British woman that lived in Gambia that I liked from the Black Zip program. And then I heard a tape that she had, what she was saying about African Americans. And I went, whoa, That's deep. I place an African American against anybody. And get this, I don't hate anybody. All I'm saying is, I'm not gonna allow you to put us down. I'm not gonna allow you to say what you want to say, and I'm just gonna sit back and be quiet. That goes with mainstream society too, because we've done more for mainstream society than anybody else. But yet, we always look down. And I understand why we always look down, because when you put other people in front of you, they tend to lose respect for you. And the reason why they lose respect for you is because they think they can use you. And the reason why they think they can use you is because guess what? We practice that Stockholm syndrome. We tend to love you no matter what you do. Slap us upside the head. Oh, they did it for this reason. Cop go out and shoot a black man. Oh, they do it for this reason. If he hadn't been doing this, well, he should have stopped when the cop said stop. He should have ran when the cop said don't run. Well, he should have stopped at that stop sign. Dude, I'm supposed to get shot because I stopped at a stop sign? That's crazy. We got to stop practicing this Stockholm syndrome and man up and woman up. A friend of mine said the whole African diaspora will not stick together. And guess what? I believe him. I don't think we will. Because number one, we got to get the African American diaspora to stick together. And I believe that's possible, but I don't think everybody's going to do it. So we got to start off small and have each and every one of us sticking together. And then maybe the rest of the African diaspora will follow through. But no, as long as you got one group thinking they're better than the other group, man, that's not going to happen. It's more of us, African diaspora in America, than there is in the UK. I think Brazil has probably got, matter of fact, I know Brazil has more Africans in the diaspora there than America. But America is second. But I don't think those in Brazil is willing to do anything about their situation. I think that they're just in their situation and they are loving that Stockholm syndrome. I think they're wallowing in it. And they have settled. And they're not making any movements and they're not saying anything about it. But we in the African diaspora in America, we're speaking out on it. We're going to continue to speak out on it. Because guess what? We want to stop loving our abusers. We want to stop taking up for our abusers. We want to stop making excuses for our abusers. It's time for us to start looking after ourselves and watching after ourselves. And we can do it. We just got to believe we can do it. It's there. But we got too many people who don't want to do it, don't care to do it. And that's why I say, love them, but leave them. Leave them behind. How you gonna achieve something and you got people behind you popping their chops, saying that you're wrong, saying disrespectful things about you? If I got 10 people with me, and out of that 10 people, 4 of them are really against me, and then they are turning the other ones against me, then how can I succeed? Even if they don't turn the other ones totally against me, their venom will be injected and they will probably stop supporting me. That's how it works. Even though they're not against you, they'll stop supporting you because of the rest of them venom. I say leave those 4 behind. Let them go about their business and tell them, you ain't got to be with me, but why are you trying to stop me? They always want to stop you from doing what you want to do. So we got to move on. We got to keep moving on, trying to achieve something that has never, ever been achieved before. And that is the African diaspora trying to live a better life than what we've always been living. Africa is not going to do it for us. Because Africa got their own thing. They got their own country. They, like I told you in one video, they love you. But you know what? You let one of them get mad at you. You know what they're going to say? African American. You sitting there thinking, you might say, well, I'm a Nigerian. They get mad at you. They'll say African American. When they like you and you spending money with them, it's you one of them. As soon as they get mad at you, African American. And that's in all of them. Now, I just use Nigeria as an example, but that's all of them. But I still think they're better than the others. That's why I say you got to remember who you are and remember what you are. Remember where you come from. Originally, you come from Africa. It is not your fault that you were held captive and brung here, but nevertheless, you were brung here. And now you have a label put on you that's called African American or European American or Caribbean American. But nevertheless, you originated from Africa, and that makes you different. You are supposed to be dead. You're not supposed to exist. The fact that you exist, these people have to find some way to deal with you. I said it. You're not supposed to exist. You are supposed to come over here, be enslaved, and die. And you should have been in the history books saying back in 1400 and something, there were slaves brought from Africa, but they all died out in the 18th century and they no longer exist. Oh, it's poor and shame what happened to those black Africans. But nevertheless, you persisted. Not only did you survive, but you made contributions to the whole world, and they cannot deny it. The world wouldn't exist as what it is today if it hadn't have been for the African diaspora's contributions, specifically African American contributions to the world. So you can't tell me we can't come together, stick together, and do what's right, and stop loving our abusers and those that hate us. And with that, I'm gonna say, hit the button, hit the like button, share, subscribe, hit the bell. It's just a click for you, but it means so much for me and my staff. Thank you.